We don't really need silence.
Oh, we don't need silence anymore? Okay.
I've kind of figured it out.
all right, for sure. Here we go.
Yeah, that's old us, dude.
We're evolving on this bitch.
Always changing, motherfucker. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Circle Podcast. My name is James. I am here today with some of my best friends in the whole world and some of the best co-hosts in the whole world.
Oh, damn.
Philip and Andy, if you guys want to introduce yourselves.
Hello, I'm Philip.
They hit right, dude. That compliment hit right. Just made my week. But I'm Andy.
Meet up, bro.
Welcome.
All right, guys. So, doing an interesting episode today. We are talking about conspiracy theories. So, about in the middle of the week is when I decided to do this topic, and I told Andy and Phillip to pick their favorite conspiracy theory to make sure to claim it, call dibs, and then see if they could do some research on it. I kind of wish that I made this decision earlier because I ran out of time to do all the research I would like to do. I definitely understand now how people get lost down this rabbit hole on the internet of exploring these theories.
Dude, YouTube can be deep.
Super deep.
Real deep.
Yeah.
Lost in the sauce.
Next thing you know, like you're 3 hours in and you have like 5 or 6 different tabs open. Like, oh, I have to watch that one, you know?
Yeah. And what I was saying too earlier is like if you're trying to verify if any of this is true too, it just takes that much longer. Because there's some articles where like I'm like, you read something and it says it nowhere else on the internet. Yeah. It's like, where did they pull this fucking information? You know?
Yeah.
I think that's good though. I think that gives, each. Well, sometimes I think it gives each article like its own, element.
It's dangerous though, but how do you know it's true?
That's the thing, though.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
Yeah. I guess you could report on it. You just gotta take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. Yeah.
I fucking love conspiracy theories.
Me too, man.
But it's also, if you take it serious and you believe these things, it kind of scares you. You know,
it makes the world a little harder to live in.
The reality is not what you think it is.
Yeah, it's just it's better than normal life.
That's true, man.
That's why we fall so easily into them.
I think what was cool about doing this, though, is I remember we used to be deep into conspiracy theories in high school. We used to always like watch videos or talk about these things, and it was kind of fun to go back down that path. Yeah. You know, I want to do this again. That's another thing. When I was doing research on which theory I wanted to do, there are so many out there, and so many that I haven't like heard of that are like popping up like recently. So I would love to do this like theme again with a different theory. There was one theory that I came across that was saying that Rob, what was the Kardashians' dad's name? The lawyer, was it Robert Kardashian?
Yeah, Rob Kardashian.
There's a theory that Robert Kardashian and Ted Cruz are actually the same person.
Oh, I know this one. Yes,
yeah, dude. I had not heard that, and I was so tempted. I'm like, oh, is this the rabbit hole I want to go down?
That's the thing. I was trying to choose. I was like, do I want to make this funny? I was like, do I want to make this serious?
Yeah.
I was like, there are maybe 70% of the theories are like, what the fuck?
Yeah, honestly.
You just pull this out of your ass.
Yeah. People's imaginations.
I almost did an Israel, what is it, the Israel animal goat spying? Ever heard that theory?
No. What the fuck?
I won't even get into it, dude. Like, no. I was like, oh, should I do this one? I was like, nah.
Dude, I'm telling you, we got to do this one again.
Yeah.
But this time, like 2 weeks in advance, so we have plenty of time to really, like, be an expert in the fucking.
I wish I had more time. Yeah.
But yeah, I and I was looking up this fucking when I was researching this Thursday and Friday. Like I got home early from work Thursday. I was like, no one's home. I fucking closed all the blinds. I made everything dark. So like the computer screen, you could just see my computer screen, the light on my face.
You put a hoodie on with the hood on.
Yeah, just to get the aesthetic, searching in the night, or you know what I mean, searching in the dark. All right, I got the right mood.
That's what's up, man. Before I forget, real quick, make sure to follow us on the Instagram, Circle Podcast _ I think we got some new followers this week. I think our follower count went up.
I think we got like 1 or 2. Yeah.
Okay. Now we just sound fucking. We
Hey,
got
you know what?
1 or 200.
yeah, 1 or 200 new followers.
Honesty goes a long way, man. You know.
Please follow us.
But please,
Please follow us.
please.
For those who have been messaging us, again, we greatly appreciate it.
We want interaction. We want to
interaction.
talk to you guys.
Yeah.
We want to know your comments on what you think of the episode.
Well,
If
we
it
have-
sucked, tell us.
Yeah, that's what I said.
come-
If
Tell
we-
us why we suck.
We have the downloads, you know. I don't know why people aren't following.
I think we need to do a better job plugging it. I think that's why too.
Maybe they're just, you know, they don't want to show their face.
Could be.
I'd
They
rather
don't want to
just-
be associated with this
I'd rather just
show.
listen. You know, I'd rather listen from the side.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I get it. You know.
So should we all just like introduce what our topic is, and then
yeah,
we can go
I was
into
thinking that too. Yeah,
For
I
sure.
chose Jeffrey Epstein. We've talked about it plenty of times on this
Mhm.
show, and for me, I same thing. I didn't know if I wanted to do something funny or something serious, but I was like, you know, this is a serious case, and after researching it, the magnitude that this guy had for power, and you know how much of an influence he was. It's like, how did we let this happen? So that's why
Yeah.
I chose.
Great topic.
Yeah.
I was hoping someone would pick that.
And I did 9/11.
Another good one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised. I thought for you, Andy, you were either going to choose 9/11 or the moon landing was fake.
That was another one I was very tempted to do. Was the moon landing?
Yeah. Yeah, I just chose 9/11. There's just a lot of 9/11. You know.
Yeah.
Not that it was easy, but you know, I would be able to pull from
A lot of
different
sources.
sources, and you know, so
Yeah. I did aliens, just a broad theory of aliens. I kind of wish I was a little more like narrow, because I feel like that made it hard to research. It was too much. There's too much information to try to go through it. But
yeah, that's the thing about 9/11 too. Because like 9/11 is a conspiracy theory in itself, but there's also like this little subgenres of theories. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Oh, that
like,
subgenre.
yeah, well,
of
I'll-
conspiracy theories.
You know, I'll say them when it's my turn. But
For sure.
Yeah. We just decided that I would go first because I feel like I can go through this very quickly. Just some backstory. Jeffrey Epstein started as a math teacher, and he
Really?
rose to the ranks of being
This is-
considered a
that's
This is
billionaire.
where
Walter White, dude. This
yeah. Well, what grade did you
Just
teach?
not with drugs, yeah.
What grade did you
Oh,
teach?
I don't fucking know. I didn't look that far. I didn't really care about like his past history.
Okay.
I just want to give some subcontext of who he
That's where his-
was.
that's where his
yeah,
fucking-
was he like a professor or just like a high school math teacher?
probably elementary teacher? That's sick. Fuck. Sounds
Maybe.
Jeez. I don't know, but
What? That
But-
makes sense, right?
it would. It would, yeah.
That's
but
how it started.
going from an elementary teacher to what, according to Vox, they said he specifically marketed his services to those with assets worth $1 billion.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because so you said, okay, so what was he? He was an elementary
was a-
teacher, and then he became
A financer. He was a banker for.
A banker.
He would handle most people's money.
So he would.
okay.
Like, for example, the CEO of Victoria's Secret allowed Jeffrey Epstein to come in and like take over the finance.
So while he was a math teacher, he was offering his services to these
No,
billionaires. Oh, okay.
he. I think. God damn! I was watching a video on it last night. I don't know what got him his fame. I just can't fucking remember. But he just something happened, and then people
That's such a
or
weird
the
thing,
guy
like-
realized how good he was.
At like finance.
Yeah.
Okay.
What kind of services are you offering to fucking billionaires that are like, you know what?
That
sounds great.
That's part
Right?
of the
That's
conspiracy,
shady,
bro.
That's shady,
It's
yeah.
part of the conspiracy.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
I'm already, dude. I'm hooked, bro.
Yeah.
I'm hooked.
So in 2008 is when he first pleaded guilty to felony charges of solicitation of prostitution involving a minor. Guess how-
2008.
2008.
Wow, I didn't
Okay.
know that.
Guess how old?
Oh man.
11.
5.
Too young. Oh, whoa.
Oh.
14. From what I have researched, 14 was the youngest.
Okay, still
Okay.
child. Still child.
Yeah, still a child.
Definitely.
He had a registered as a sex offender, but the thing is, they had so much evidence on him in 2008 that the sentence he got, like, he had enough evidence to put him away for the rest of his life.
What was it that he got caught doing?
This was the like the little girl came out, and then more little girls came out to like, you know, say that they did it too. And then he did like one of those you know, deals outside of court, you know. And the fucked up part is that the deal came to, or it was through the court system that whoever came with another accusation about him wouldn't count in court. It was like the craziest plea deal.
What's that called?
What's
Is that
that
But they can't hit you with the same charge twice?
That's something else. That's
Yeah,
double
no.
jeopardy,
Oh,
I
okay,
think, or
okay.
something.
But
Or is that what it is? Double
No,
jeopardy?
I think that's what
Is that
double
what it is?
jeopardy.
Okay.
yeah. But it was like they considered the plea deal of the century. This was something that could have put him away a long time ago,
Damn.
and for the rest of his life. And he got away with only like doing 13 months in prison, and for 12 hours of the day, he would be able to leave prison and still go do work. Like,
What the hell? But
Yeah.
he was registered as a sex offender after that.
Yeah.
And can you say what the charge was again?
It was charges of solicitation of prostitution involving a minor.
So he was hiring.
So what he would do, right? And I think it was his wife. I don't remember her name, but she would go get these minors and give them this crazy. He would target like young girls that were in poverty, right? And the wife would go and say like, "Hey, we're trying to find someone that will be a masseuse to this rich guy, you know, and we'll get you the teaching and everything you need to know how to be a masseuse, and you'll be able to travel the whole world and, you know, explore and, you know, see everything." And then to a 14-year-old broke girl, you know, it's like a dream come true, you know, it's an opportunity of a lifetime. So they would go and they would go inside and they would start massaging his back, and then the dude would roll over, and then, you know,
His towel's up.
he's
towel-
pitching
towel-
a tent.
Yeah.
But
6
yeah.
inches high.
Damn, dude, that's crazy.
But yeah, then he would either, you know, molest them, have sex with them, you know.
Dude, I did not know that.
So you got caught doing that in 2008.
Yes.
Doing that thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, what more do you need?
The crazy part is that he would offer them $200 to do this, right?
That's it.
200. But what he would do with a lot of the girls is that if they went and got another girl, he would give them up to $1,000. So he was bribing them to go get other girls to do the same
no way.
thing.
This guy started a pyramid scheme of fucking molestation.
That's exactly what it was. Yes.
Jesus Christ.
And they said that he would do this to 3 different girls a day.
A day.
A day.
Holy fuck.
They don't even know how many girls he did this to. And this is over the course of 20 years.
Yeah.
The numbers are in the thousands. One of the
Jesus.
girls that is an adult now said that she probably got at least 50 to 70 girls for him.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
How did he? If he was doing this 3 times a day, how did he have time to like? How is he a successful financer, man?
He's like, come to my business.
Yeah.
I have a masseuse room in the back. Dude.
It was wild.
Oh my God.
But the crazy
crazy.
thing is with Jeffrey Epstein
Mhm.
is that, you know, he was tied to what I told you guys before the show, 1,000 different highly powerful people, you know, from politicians to actors to movie directors. Like I said, he was best friends with Prince Andrew. Like, he was up there. He knew a lot of people. There's even video clips of him strolling in New York with Prince Andrew. A video of him with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Reportedly, Bill Clinton
I heard
took
them
27 flights.
Yeah, I knew that's
Oh,
a big...
to his island or whatever,
Listen,
right?
27 flights in his private plane, and one of the times he was going to Africa with Kevin Spacey. And
What?
I don't know
Oh,
if people remember this,
yeah.
but Kevin Spacey last year, you know,
Yeah.
you
he
know,
was
getting
accusations
exposed
against him.
all of his
for molestation.
all of his accusers are dying. Have you heard about that? thing?
Suspiciously. That's
Kevin
another
Spacey's,
conspiracy
yeah,
theory.
all of his
really?
accusers are fucking
It's
like
another
committing
conspiracy
suicide
theory.
or being killed. But anyways,
Dude,
you know,
oh, man,
that's another
cleanup, dude.
conspiracy theory.
Whoever these elites are, you know, this is what's crazy. Like, there's always been these theories of pedophilia in not only Hollywood with the like Hollywood elites, but just global elites in general.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, you know, everyone knows how crazy Alex Jones is, but remember his freaking
Yeah.
spiel about
the last time he was on the Joe Rogan podcast,
Yeah.
he brought up the point where, like, there's this massive case going on here in California about,
it
like,
was called Pizzagate, no, or something like that.
No, they
Or
were
was that a
talking
different
about
one?
that though.
Oh, okay.
But it was another. Or wait, it may have been Pizzagate
think it
too.
was.
Yeah, it was tied into it, but it was up to like I don't know, 200 different children or something like that, or 200 different politicians. Something with
Yeah.
200.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy, and then they looked it up while they're doing the episode, and it was true.
Yeah.
You know, and there was a case going on about it. But did it make it to mainstream media? No.
Right.
Was anything heard about it after? No. It was all just lost in the fold of nonsense. But to get back to Jeffrey Epstein, you may be asking yourself, how did this guy get away with it for 20 years, right? Now, to paint the picture for you guys, this guy they don't know how much money he had. They don't know who his clients were. But they do know that he had multi-million-dollar homes in New Mexico, New York, Florida, and France. And he also owned 2 of his own private islands, right? One was worth $86 million. And what he would do is he would fly to the nearby city in his private jet. And then from and the private jet section, or the private area, wasn't anywhere near the commercial flight area. So police or anyone else couldn't really know who was going through that section, right? So then he would land there, and then he would take his private helicopters to his island, or he would take the private helicopter to the dock, where he would then take his boat to his private island. So there was no point which people can really see who is with him, except for the pilots, or if he's driving his own boat, you know, that's it, right?
Yeah.
So he would then take them to his private island, and some of the victims said that he would have like these massive orgies of just children running around and just wild shit
Dude,
with
man.
How is this
famous,
real?
powerful
I
people.
know.
How is it? Doesn't sound real.
Famous, powerful people.
Jesus.
Like one of the accusers, or the victims, sorry, not accusers, said that Prince Andrew was there and had sex with him 3 times. And of course, you know, it's all denied and not true. But yeah, that's what they would do. He would trap them on this island, and there's no way to get out. You know, it's pretty wild to think about. This guy had this much power, this much money, and he was able to do this for 20 years.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that goes to show what you could get away with when you have an absurd amount of money.
Yeah.
Like, you just live a different life. And obviously, for some people, that gets to them, and they feel that they could do whatever they want, get away with whatever they want without repercussions.
I just feel like also too, when you're on a level of power like he was, and the people around you on the same level of power are on the same shit that you're on,
Yeah.
like child pedophilia, that will never get out. You know why? Because these people are going to keep it a secret. These people are in power, and they're going to spend however much money.
Yeah.
Right, to I'm like,
Well,
okay, this
then
is
we
not-
get to his death, right? You know, 1,000 very powerful people, you know, with a lot of money and a lot of influence, and you go to prison, and you had this whole sex trafficking thing with children,
Yeah.
right? In my eyes, that's 1,000 people that want you dead.
Yeah, that
Like,
are in danger.
Yeah,
They are now
exactly.
in danger.
So when you hear that Jeffrey Epstein died or committed suicide, I'm putting up air quotes for the people listening to this. Is it a surprise if you hear that you have 1,000 people that are very powerful in the world?
Not at all.
Right?
I mean, I feel like it was already suspected. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like people were expecting something
Well,
shady to happen.
Yeah, let me paint this for you. The prison he was in, that's the one they held El Chapo in. This is the prison that they held like Al Qaeda terrorists in. It was the most secure prison like around, and he committed suicide. You know.
Yeah.
So what it was is one guard was on their 5th straight day of overtime. The other guard was on a mandatory day of overtime, but it wasn't even a guard. She was, or I think it was a she. She or he was from a different department. Like, she's not even supposed to be doing what she was doing, right? So the day before, or the week before his actual death, he tried committing suicide. So they put him on suicide watch 24/7, right? And then the video of outside his cell before his first attempt of suicide no longer exists. It's gone.
Really?
They have no idea where it went. It's gone.
That's
Completely
shitty.
gone. And then the day before his death, they took his cellmate out of the room. They moved him. Like, gone. Like, he's not there no more, right? And then, of course, the day of his death, the 2 cameras that are outside his cell stopped working. They don't work.
What a coincidence.
Yeah, they stopped working, right?
Oh my god, dude. This is
And
like
then-
a fucking movie.
And then pathologists say, multiple pathologists say, without knowing the position of his body, it's hard to tell the cause of death with certainty, right? They knew that, there was some kind of strangulation around his neck because there's marks, and there was a noose found. Apparently what happened was that the guard came in, saw him hanging, and cut him from where he was, right? If you look at the picture of the noose, there's no signs of any kind of like signs of a cut. It looks like a perfectly hemmed piece of cloth. Like it's just tied up in a noose. There's no cut marks.
And it was just a piece of cloth that was tied into
There's a
the
bed
noose?
sheet, probably.
Yeah, a bed sheet or his
Oh,
like
okay.
actual get
Like
up.
jumpsuit or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the one private pathologist from I think his name is Mark Epstein, his brother, had a private pathologist come in and do, all his own examination, and he said that he had multiple broken bones in his chest and neck area that wouldn't indicate towards a hanging. It'd be more towards a strangulation. And even the what's it called? He had petechial hemorrhages, which is burst vessels, right, around his neck. It's a key indicator that someone's neck was compressed, and you see it more in compressions than hanging. So strangling with the hands, yeah. Or in movies where they throw the plastic bag over someone's head,
Yeah.
and they have the rope and they
Like around
string
the
like
neck?
that would be it too, right? And then there's a mark on the back of his neck that they don't know got there, and then an injection mark in his arm, and they don't know whether that was like where it came from. Blah blah blah.
What's weird to me about that is that these people in power, if they did wanted him dead, they wanted him dead maybe on the suspicion that he would snitch, right? But it's almost like, why would he snitch if he already had all this evidence against him? It's not like he would snitch and he would get time off his sentence where he would be out in like 20
Yeah.
years, right?
I don't think that was the reason why. Not that he would snitch. It was to prevent victims from speaking, because if they brought people to the podium, they might be able to say, "Oh, he was there with blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah blah." Because this is the issue. Now that he's dead, the case is done. There's no
Yeah.
case to be tried anymore.
Yeah.
There's no podium for victims to speak about what they went through.
Well, in
There's
August,
no audience.
in
listening.
August, they did say that they're gonna they feel like there is enough evidence to try keeping the case going. But of course, when you let someone with that much information die, it's very hard.
Yeah.
At this point, it's a wild case.
Yeah.
I only have one more point. It's that the guards falsified that they actually checked on him, and they check on them every 30 minutes. So that's a big window to allow something to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. They could have just had cameras on him 24/7 and someone watching a TV.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
Camera stopped working, bro. It's a weird thing.
Very weird.
Yeah. And these are all this isn't really a conspiracy, right? But in your head, if you're listening to
Yeah.
this, you're probably thinking like that the coincidences, the multiple coincidences happening all at once in the same time, like you can
It's
in
too
your head
shady.
kind of make your own opinion,
Yeah.
Me personally, I don't think he killed himself.
I mean, if anything strays off from the obvious, then I would consider it a conspiracy theory,
Mhm.
So, like, all this, yeah.
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 Because if you just want to be simple about it, yeah, he hung himself.
Yeah. But if you're like me and you think that the guy didn't kill himself, it makes you question our reality, right? That we're able to allow someone with these major crimes against them with so much information on other people to be in one of the biggest max facilities, secure prisons that we have in the United States, and he still ends up dying.
Yeah.
You know, like, doesn't that question your reality a little?
Yeah.
And how much
Yeah.
power us normal people really have compared to these elites.
I feel like people don't realize it. People, because like I was saying, it feels like a movie, right?
Yeah,
but
this
that
is
shit
straight.
happens.
This
but
is
that's-
straight out of a movie.
But that's the thing though, is that like that's real. Like these crazy things that we see on movies actually happen sometimes in our life, you know?
Mhm.
And the average person is so detached, they're so in their routine, in their bubble, and it's easy to think that everyone in the world experiences life the same way. But it's just not true. Once you have power, once you have money, everything changes. Your life's tremendously different, and the things that happen, the secrets that are kept, you have no idea. You it's almost unable to be understood, you know, just because it's so glorified and it's always fictionized that you think it would never happen. But no, man, crazy shit's going on.
Yeah.
Crazy shit's going on.
And yeah, people who have that power, you know, they do. It's just weird that they all have like the same trends and like, sorry,
It's
like with
always
children, right?
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you always hear that people in power are like, you know, people in other countries have child sex slaves or
It's just sex in general, man.
Yeah.
It's like people in power either are like having sex like crazy orgies, cheating on whoever they're with, or it goes down the pedophilia route. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
like, and obviously, I mean, this dude was doing it for 20 years, so
Yeah.
obviously you can get away with it if you have that much power. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It's just like, what is it? Like, what is
Yeah.
it about children that?
Mm-hmm.
don't
One
know,
thing I
man.
just
I
want to
really don't
clarify
get it.
is I definitely think this guy fucking deserved it. You know, pedophiles, child molesters, women
Yeah.
beaters.
Yeah,
I don't think should be buried at the bottom of prison. I don't think they should be alive.
yeah,
I don't agree with keeping these monsters, because how can you rehabilitate someone that just does things like this? You know, that will
On his level, yeah, you
take
can't.
away a child's innocence.
Yeah.
You know, because the girls, it's hard watching the videos too, because you can see these girls now that they're adults, they're still traumatized by
yeah. It
it.
doesn't leave.
Yeah.
They're scars.
And he definitely deserved it. All I'm saying is that someone killed him. He did not kill himself.
Mm.
Yeah,
I think the issue is that it's like he died, but you know that those acts are going to continue.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
That
the thing.
Whoever these elites
He's
are,
just a
that are-
player that being taken out of the game,
Yep.
but the game is still going.
Yeah, and I think that's what's troubling. It's like, because he could have been a means to an end. You know? He
Yeah.
could have been.
yeah. Even from his charges from 2008. You kidding
Mhm.
me? Like,
That's shocking. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
why hasn't? I mean, I mean, I don't know. There might have been. But why hasn't there, or why isn't an investigation been televised since then? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ, dude.
It's crazy.
Come on.
Going from 2008 to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
2019.
Like, we need to know something.
Yeah.
Like, let us know something.
But from what I know is that I haven't heard or seen anything recently, but I think the case is still going, but it's a hard case to, you know, get anything more out of when the main player is gone.
Yeah. It's like, who are they charging at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
But
have the
crazy
power to
shit,
keep
man.
things in the dark, too. So,
That was
yeah.
my conspiracy theory.
They can keep things in the
It's a
dark.
good one.
Damn it, Epstein. What the fuck? All right. Well, I'm next. All right.
Here we go.
I chose 9/11. Right? Big conspiracy. Since 2001.
Hey,
Correct? Yes.
crazy.
Right? Heard it all over the internet. Bush did 9/11. Jet fuel can't melt steel beams. You name it. All right? So, question number 1.
Exhibit A.
Was 9/11 an inside job? What do you guys think?
You know, I'm skeptical about it. I definitely don't think Bush did it. I don't think he's smart enough. Even though he's a dude that went to Yale and Princeton, I believe. But how
Old
much is-
money, baby.
How much is that? Yeah, big
Old
big
money.
Texas money.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But-
you don't. Yeah.
You could argue though that technically, since Osama bin Laden was a CIA operative at one
Yes, sir.
point, inside job, right? He
Yeah.
did work for the U.S. government.
Yeah.
That's a valid point.
Yep.
But my point is, I don't think Bush.
I don't think Bush
I don't-
orchestrated it.
I don't think.
But this is
I
the
think
thing.
you need multiple key players
Yeah.
to make that
100%.
happen.
This is the thing.
100%.
I don't think he did it either. The whole Bush did 9/11. No.
Yeah.
Because number one, I don't know if you guys remember, but he was elected that year, that January.
Oh,
So like he just orchestrated this fucking
In a few months?
large scale attack in
Yeah.
a couple.
I mean-
not a couple months, but
if
it's
I was
6, 7,
someone
8
that
months.
orchestrated this big deal, would that day would I be at a fucking elementary school reading a book to children?
yeah.
This is my thing too. I that was a little weird for me because he was in the most vile thing that could have happened ever, right?
Yeah.
Happened. And then you see fucking televised that George Bush is in the most innocent place in the fucking world,
Elementary
reading an
school.
fucking child's book.
He hears he
Yeah.
hears what's going on. He's like, "What the
like
fuck
the
are you
complete
talking
the
about?"
complete
Yeah.
fucking opposites, right?
He must be a great actor if that's the case, right?
If that's the case, this guy needs a fucking what is it, an Emmy? What do actors?
Yeah.
What do actors win? A Tony's award.
Oscars and
Oscar?
all that shit.
But
Yeah.
like I brought up before the show started, on September 10th, the defense secretary
Secretary of Defense.
Secretary of
Oh, that's
Defense came out at the Pentagon with a
Mm-hmm.
press conference and said that $2.3 trillion is missing.
Yeah, unaccounted for.
Just missing.
a day
and
before the attacks.
He even said that a war is going to ensue, but not with any enemies. It's with our system, our American system,
Mhm.
right? To figure out where this money went. And then the next day, September 11th happens.
Yeah.
9/11 happens. Like, is that
Yeah.
a coincidence?
I feel like we're all in agreement though that the president doesn't really know what's going on.
Mm-mm.
That there's other players that are
Yeah.
around long term, and the president is just a face that comes and goes.
Yeah.
That's
I
kind of
feel-
going with the flow.
I feel like the government has many people like that. You have a bunch of generals and scientists and people that are high up in regard, but they only know like little pieces of
Yeah.
what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think the president definitely isn't in charge, but I think the way they choose presidents is a lot has to do with media press. George Bush, right? He was a little stupid. A lot of things happened in terms of media coverage. President Obama, first black president, right? It was good for our image. Let's just keep him up there, and you know what I mean. Donald Trump says
Media press.
media
yeah.
press. Like how media friendly are all the past few presidents? Even though I'm sure President Obama didn't want it. I mean, he genuinely seemed like a good guy, right?
Mhm.
But the fact that he was the first black president,
It led to a lot of
led-
coverage.
yeah.
Yeah.
and that could how like you know what I mean? Media coverage covers up a lot of shit,
Mhm.
right? So that could have just covered up.
It's just
everything else
noise.
going.
It's just
Yeah.
noise to drown out
It's just
whatever else
static.
is happening.
It's just static.
It's
But,
funny though, because you know what plankton are? Like what's categorized as plankton?
You're talking about
The sea
sea-
animal.
yeah.
It's anything that floats and that doesn't swim against the current is considered plankton.
Mm.
So any living thing that's just floating in water is plankton. That's what the president is. The president is plankton. It's going with whatever flow is being
Correct.
pushed by whoever these players are.
Yeah,
you know.
which
Yeah.
is also ridiculous because that's on a lower level. Whatever's popping in the media, the president then has to put his attention to it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
It's just it's stupid to think too that
all a
one
game.
person is able to I guess have the mental capacity to get
Yeah.
things from all angles and like attend
Yeah.
to everything. Like no,
yeah,
he's not doing
I,
that. dude.
I just watched the town hall thing with Donald Trump just a couple days ago. Someone asked him about the coronavirus, and this dude, what amazed me was that he was like, honestly, I'm still out there shaking people's hands. Like it's not stopping me.
Yeah,
And that just shows you the media, I feel, is overblowing the coronavirus.
It
Yes,
is.
but at the same time, Trump shouldn't be out here saying like, "I'm so smart. I should have been a doctor. I have the natural brain capacity to be a doctor, and the CDC has actually been asking me advice. No, the fuck they aren't.
And
dude.
then they're saying, "Well, I'm still out here shaking people's hands."
Bro,
Hey, this is off track. But you guys see that video of the chick saying that like the main things is to don't touch your face or your mouth.
Oh,
or-
and then-
then she
yeah.
goes and like
She
licks her finger to
finger.
switch the page on her speech.
And then it turns to the ending of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
I did not see that. That's funny.
Dude,
That was stupid.
hilarious. That was
Okay,
fucking
9/11.
Okay. So question number 1 wasn't an inside job.
Mhm.
You know, may have been. We don't know, right? There are very compelling conspiracy theories
Mhm.
associated with
there's
this.
a lot of things that eyebrow raising.
Yes, which is
The
yes.
$2.3 trillion. That was eyebrow raising to me.
All right. The way the building came down, all that, whatever. The war in the Middle East. There's a lot, and there's apparently. Well, I'll get to that later. All right. I just have so much, but only because of the insurmountable contingencies associated with it. Right. There's a lot of fucking loopholes.
Can you say that sentence one more time?
Oh,
please?
insurmountable contingencies.
Mm.
But this is why it's so big, because it's so fucking believable, right?
Mhm.
And so many people have all this fishy evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, you know what? Yeah, that's a little weird. What the fuck is this? $2.3 trillion gone? What the fuck?
That ain't fucking.
How does that disappear?
Dude, it's
that ain't
all.
We can't even imagine how much money that is.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a shit ton of money. It's all a bunch of convenient things that are
Yes.
happening.
What
you know?
bothers me about the idea of it being an inside job and a conspiracy is that it's all wrapped around money.
Mhm.
Like we
Yeah.
go to war for oil,
Mhm.
money. You know, $2.3 trillion disappear. That's money. Like that's what blows my mind that we allow. Like if it is an inside job, that this happened for money.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think that the Secretary of Defense said this, right, the day before.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy to think that even a man of his stature is like, what the fuck did this money go? Like, who?
Yeah.
How many people are more powerful? I mean, obviously a lot, but he's a pretty powerful guy, I would say, Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, who is up there that's able to make this happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all think that. But just going off, I think in order for the 9/11 conspiracies to have thrived in the way that they did, fishy evidence was brought to light. You know, people were seeing this and it was believable.
Mhm.
And it might be true, it might not, whatever. But I would like to mention before we get into 9/11, you know, before we laugh about it and stuff, you know, a few things. Rest in peace, right?
Yeah.
To all the victims who died, all the first responders,
Yeah,
and
of
all the
course.
military personnel who risked their lives in a gruesome war
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
with remnants and collateral battles and deaths still going on today. You know,
Yeah.
there's still conflict in the Middle East because of 9/11.
Dude, when they
Yeah.
replay the documentaries every year, it still gets me mad.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen
Yeah.
it like probably a million times. I
Yeah.
still get mad. You know, I don't take this subject very lightly, but
It's a big
the
thing.
eyebrow raising shit's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just, you know, I
It's a
want to
little
make that
fishy.
clear. Because it does suck. It was a horrible thing.
yeah,
A lot of lives lost that day.
it was a world changing event.
Yeah, probably the
Yeah.
worst thing that did not happen. I mean, that did happen on American soil in the modern era.
Mhm.
Mm.
But so I went to look up, right? I knew there was a lot of fishy evidence associated with 9/11.
Yeah,
So I was like, you know what? How many people actually think that 9/11 is a conspiracy theory? Or there's conspiracy theories associated with 9/11. So a 2016, I don't have the website, so, you know, you can believe this if you want or not. But a 2016 study from Chapman University in California found that more than half of Americans believe the government is concealing information about 9/11. Which is also evidence of why these conspiracy theories could be so big, correct? But it doesn't make it factual. It's just better than real life. But theory number 2, right? Was 9/11 a controlled demolition? The way the building came down was very fishy, right?
Mhm.
It almost seems like people were going in there, strapping bombs to,
mm-hmm.
you know, the
Support
structural
beams, yeah.
integrity of the building, right? So let me read a few things that I found. There are many claims of people hearing explosions on the bottom floors of the towers.
Mhm.
And you could find that everywhere. But you know, I also read that they did seismic, like a seismograph, needed to detect seismic activity. But, you know, they said that nothing was found. But again, this is, right?
See, I don't know if I believe that, because you see that it collapses from the top down. you
Yeah.
know?
So,
Like, if the demolition started from the bottom, I don't know. I feel like it doesn't line up with
so this
what's
is
on
this
footage.
So they say explosions, but it wasn't so much bombs going off to take down the building. There was another thing that is associated with demolition of buildings. So a lot of early advocates of, you know, conspiracy theories claim that damage done by the planes could not have caused enough structural damage to the buildings for the buildings to collapse, right? And then that's where you get that famous meme saying, or people saying, jet fuel can't melt steel beams, right? But that doesn't mean there's no margin for failure, right?
Right.
Iron is very malleable. Even if it's heated to a certain temperature, even if it bends, that could cause failure.
Did you do any research to see, like, what's the validity of that sentence? To begin with, were the towers built with steel beams, or is that just what they're saying?
Why no, but I assume that a lot of buildings are steel or iron, right?
Skyscrapers, yeah.
Especially
Is it going to
back
be
then.
steel or iron? Which one is it?
I believe it's steel.
Steel.
It is steel?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's steel.
And that's the next question. Like, can they? Does jet fuel? I don't know. I've never looked into that. Like,
I don't
what
thi-
temperature jet fuel actually burns out. And
Okay, well, I should have
hey,
looked
Jamie,
that up. But
Jamie,
Jamie
can you
looked that
look
up.
it up?
But I don't think that jet fuel burns hot enough. And I think the reason is steel, because it was designed not to. The reason they picked steel is because of that. Is that it, just in case, like
There's a fire.
fire, yeah, because fires, you know, especially
Yeah.
a building fire of that magnitude.
Right. Like, if
I don't know when the Twin Towers were made, but nowadays they'll put the steel in and then they spray a coating of fireproof
Yeah.
around the steel.
retardant on the steel, I guess you could say.
Interesting.
Good thing we have a computer here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, what else were you saying, Andy?
But that doesn't mean it can't fail, right?
Like, it could still cause enough damage.
Yeah,
for
it
something
could
to
still
happen.
bend, and you know what I mean. Shit could fall, for lack of better words. So the counterpoint to this, right, is that a lot of like structural engineers say that the way buildings are built, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and this is what I read, that they have structural beams, right, that go vertical and I think horizontal as well.
Yes, of course.
So
yeah.
the way energy is transferred through buildings is, because it's like that, energy is transferred downward. So it is then when it gets to the foundation, it's spread out. So what they're saying is that because I forgot what floor up it was, say like the 100th floor up, because that came down, the kinetic energy of that caused so much energy that, because energy transfers down, is the reason why everything collapsed. It was just too much force. But I mean, maybe like, what was it? Maybe like 1/3 of the building came down from the top up. Maybe a little less than 1/3.
A good amount of it, yeah.
Like, I understand it. That sounds right, you know. But like, when you still look at it, when you
Like-
still look at a plane flying into a building and then a building just completely collapsing.
Because they did completely collapse, right?
Yeah.
Down to
So
the,
Well,
to the
there's
floor?
images where it looks like steel, the vertical steel is still, it looked like the floors just caved in and
Yeah.
some of the vertical outside steel is still standing.
Yeah.
It looks like the floor is just collapsed in on
It was-
itself. But that's more towards the bottom, you know.
I see.
I would say probably like 20 or 30 feet tall at the most.
I mean,
Okay.
but from someone who doesn't, you know, if you have no education in buildings, or you know what I mean, the way that they work, you look at it, it looks a little weird. It looks a little fishy from the naked eye. So, and then these were the early advocates came in. Stephen E. Jones, he was a physicist, and he wrote a couple books. He was an early advocate of 9/11 was an inside job theory. he points to many descriptions by individuals working on the WTC World Trade Center rubble, suggesting the presence of molten steel in the pile and a stream of molten metal that poured out of the South Tower before it collapsed. So what they mean by molten steel is steel that has completely melted, and it's just in its liquid form.
Yeah.
Which is evidence of temperatures beyond those produced by the fire / jet fuel. And they also say that molten metal and elemental iron is a product of a thermite reaction. And then I got into what thermite is, if anyone doesn't know. What is thermite? ? So thermite is an incendiary mixture, and it's used in the demolition of buildings because of its ability to burn extremely hot in concentrated areas. So what thermite burns at is over 4,000 degrees
Celsius?
Fahrenheit.
Okay.
But let's put it into perspective. Yeah, that would have been crazy. That would have been like the surface of the sun.
Yeah. Beyond that.
But a perspective, just to show what 4,000
Fahrenheit.
degrees Fahrenheit is. It's wildfires on average can reach 1,472 degrees Fahrenheit.
Mm-hmm.
So this is almost 4 times as hot, which is fucking hot. Hold on. Okay, so Stephen E. Jones, the physicist, and other researchers analyzed samples of dust from the World Trade Center building, and they had reportedly found evidence of nanothermite in the dust. So nanothermite is a form of thermite. It is just a more, I guess, potent.
It's more potent?
Yeah, so it burns higher so thermite releases energy at a very slow rate, which is why it only burns to 4,000. So I'm not sure who created nanothermite, but nanothermite comes in and it releases energy quickly because on a molecular level, the combustion is just rapid.
It's smaller, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why they bring in nanothermite for bigger buildings that are harder to bring down.
Yeah.
So who was this that found residue or?
Stephen E. Jones. He's a physicist. He wrote books, but he was just like,
But you said that he reported that there was evidence of that found at the rubble.
Yeah. So he went to the site and he collected samples to analyze because of the reason he thought when he saw buildings come down, we're like, okay, this is weird. But it's crazy to think that like when that shit happens, people
right
are
away
automatically like, okay, this is weird.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna check this out.
If he's in, I mean, I don't know this guy, but if he does have a background in physics, then I feel like that makes sense. You know?
Yeah. No, it definitely does. But it just goes to show, I guess, the human mind, and like we don't really want to believe what is shown to us, which is good. You know, it's
we're skeptical.
It's the Noam Chomsky says this. He's a writer. He said it's the job of the intellectual to seek out the truth, which is what these people are doing. So the NIST, which stands for the National Institute of Standards and Technological Promotion, promotes innovation and industrial competitiveness. And they're a branch of the U.S. What's it called? The Building of Commerce or some shit like that, some weird shit. But they're a branch of it, so they're like a government contracted, company. So the NIST was informed of this. So Stephen E. Jones contacted the NIST and informed them of his findings. Right? NIST was informed but denied the finding because there was no clear chain of custody proving the dust came from the World Trade Center site.
Okay.
So they were like, well, I mean, which is okay.
Makes sense.
You know,
How could they trust the sample?
I get it. Correct. But there could have been easy ways to have proven that it came from the World Trade Center site. But I understand that, they're like, okay, well, who the fuck are you? We're not going to believe you.
Yeah.
I get it.
Just real quick, it says on discoverymagazine.com, while jet fuel, which burns at around 800 to 1500 degrees Fahrenheit, may not reach the 2,750 degree melting point of steel, It is also about half as strong as 1100 degrees, according to comprehensive report compiled the Popular Mechanics in 2005. For the towers to collapse, the steel would not have needed to burn into a puddle of molten metal. It would have to be hot enough to just bend to compromise the structural integrity of the building.
Yeah.
And what was you said half of the 2700 would be enough to make it bend?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So see,
It was
like,
like
it could have cost
1350, and you said
Yeah.
jet fuel can burn up to
1500 degrees.
1500.
So then it would be hot enough to cause it to
Cause it
bend.
to bend,
yeah.
Okay.
So, and not to mention that, I think it took like around 40 minutes for the first tower to drop, and then it took around like 56 minutes. So I might be wrong, but for the second tower to drop. So mind you, if there's a fire that's going on for 40 to 50 minutes,
Yeah.
it could very well cause it to fail.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't know if, I guess, the size of the steel beams and the density of them.
Yeah, I think what would be hard is like figuring out what floor it was and then calculating how much weight was above that floor, to create that integrity from the
Because
heat.
I would assume that a palm full of steel would heat quicker than
Than
a
an
structural
entire beam.
the World Trade Center beam, right?
Yeah.
So, that was a big thing, right? Just just how the buildings came down in general. Which is very weird, right? Do you guys think that it was a controlled demolition?
I personally don't.
I think the more that I'm hearing, I'm starting to think no.
No?
No.
So you think it just collapsed?
As of now, yes.
I do too, yeah. The idea that, the planes created enough integrity that the rest of the weight on top of the floors from that, I think, created the collapse.
It very well makes sense,
What do you think, Andy?
I think...
You think it was controlled demolition?
I don't know, dude.
Well, let's hear more.
Well, I mean, that is pretty much all I have on the buildings coming down.
Okay.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Did 2 buildings go down or did
Or
3?
3 went down. That's right. World Trade Center 7.
Tower 7.
Tower 7.
And that was supposedly caused by
how did
fire,
that go
a
down?
fire as well.
What fire? How
But yeah,
did the
exactly.
fire
That's
get
what I'm saying.
started
It was like just a fire just broke
That's
out.
the other eyebrow raising thing. It's like a lot of people think it's only 2 towers that went down. 3 towers went down.
there? Maybe it was a controlled demolition. I'm not really sure. I would have to look at the video again, and I don't know the science behind it. Like the what's making me believe that it wasn't is what Philip just read, that it doesn't need to melt, right? It just needs to bend, and it could have been hot enough for it to bend. And like I said, from what I can recall from the videos, it does appear that it falls from the top down, or it collapses from the top down, which I feel like would make sense. But then again, did it collapse from the very top or from the side of which the plane hit the tower? I can't remember.
I think it was from the side of which the plane hit.
So it kind of just like that chunk fell and then caused everything else to keep
It was
falling.
it kind of fell. It almost kind of fell all at the same time, to be honest.
Did it?
Oh,
Can we see video again? Can we watch video again?
I'm watching a video right now about Tower 7 going down, and the first comment on YouTube says, Building 7 decided to kill itself just like Jeffrey Epstein.
You see, but like,
But the video of Tower 7 going down is much more eyebrow raising than the actual towers.
because it's more demolition.
Really?
It's more demolition.
It's way
like-
more demolition. The bottom just gives out.
What was what was in Tower 7? What was happening
I
there?
actually don't know.
What was the purpose of it?
I think it might have been just like World Trade Center. Like every floor. It's kind of like
Here, I'll let you guys.
like every floor just had its own purpose in terms of companies and build.
Wait till it goes to the different angle to give an opinion. Just press play.
All right.
Yeah.
For those listening, we're watching video. That's okay. We're watching video of Tower 7 collapse.
No, this is Tower 7. Sorry.
Okay, that looks like
You
a
see?
demolition.
But like you
Tower
have to-
7 does look like a demolition. It collapses from.
It looks like
from
a
the
whole.
bottom.
Yeah, it looks like a whole building, and then it just got
just
its legs
sinks.
kicked
but
out
this,
from
this
it,
is what
and
you
it
have
just
to
like
think.
fell.
This, right, no plane crashed into this building. Why would this plane ever? I mean, why would this building ever come down?
That's weird. Why was there a fire there?
Why
did
would
that
this building
fire
ever
start?
come down? Why aren't these all?
See, a lot of these, like, same with the Epstein thing. Well, a lot of weird coincidences, right? Like, okay, these other 2 towers got hit by, these jumbo jets. Terrible. But what a coincidence that there's a unrelated fire at Tower 7.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Was it unrelated? Did it
Well,
it doesn't make sense.
It's right
It doesn't
next
make
to
sense.
him.
It is right next to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to look at all these other buildings that are completely smaller than.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how would the fire get down there? Like the planes are so, like, where the plane struck the towers, it's so much higher than Tower 7.
Yeah.
Let's go to the beginning.
Strange. Very strange.
Let's go to the beginning.
Did Tower 7 collapse after the 2 towers
I think
collapsed?
so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But how? Like
That does look weird. That looks like a demolition.
How?
Yeah. The other
How?
thing I feel like we're missing
That looks like a controlled
About-
demolition.
about this conversation too is we had a lot of this information about this attack, right?
Yes.
Different departments.
Yeah,
had
before the attack happened.
all the information they needed. The other problem is that these departments.
Oh my god.
We're having technical difficulty in the studio right now.
I would say it's not.
The problem is all these departments don't talk to one another.
Yeah. So
Right.
that leads me into
Each one of them had their enough information to
To piece
come
it
together
yeah.
and put this together, but they didn't, and then 9/11 happened.
It's my theory number 3. 9/11 was conjured to
Oh, I
invade.
thought you were done.
This is the last theory.
Oh, sorry.
9/11 was conjured to invade the Middle East for oil, money, and profit.
Mhm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So let me give a little backstory of before 9/11 happened. Tension had been growing for years before 9/11 between the Middle East and the U.S. Osama bin Laden had declared jihad on the United States in 1998, which kind of means like holy war, like it's us against you, basically, on the United States. A lot of the tension had been misjudged. There also had been a numerous amount of terrorist attacks against the U.S. The first bombing of the World Trade Center, right? There was a bombing before,
Right.
which killed 6 people. The bombing of 2 U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania in 1998, which killed more than 200 people. But the biggest reason why these attacks were kind of so dismissed is because the CIA didn't think the extremists were capable of such a large-scale attack. Well, they were wrong, right? So this ties into the $2.3 trillion lost, right? Everyone knows war equals profit. Money is funneled through all of the military-industrial complex. Stocks rise, investors become rich. They throw money at politicians. The cycle continues. War starts again. Stocks rise. And if no one knew that, we have a lot of wars that make us a lot of money.
Look into it.
Yeah, but this also leads me into the saying that Bush did 9/11, which we obviously said earlier that he had nothing to do with. Bush was elected that year, January 20th, 2001.
Or that's when he was sworn in office.
That's when he was
right?
sworn in to be president. So he was only president for 8 months. I doubt he was like, all right, how can I
Get us in a war in 8 months.
how can I get us a war? How can I make America rich? Doubt it. Probably had been brewing. It was brewing, like I just said, for many years. So I mean, many might look at it that he got the shit end of the stick, but 9/11 could very well be the reason why he got reelected. You know what I mean? And the war in the Middle East. So we could also go. You see, there was just so many loopholes, or not loopholes. There's so many rabbit holes. we could go into the Patriot Act as well. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to do that, but I was like,
What was the Patriot Act again?
So the Patriot Act allowed, so it's actually an acronym. I don't want to get it wrong. Let me look it up.
One thing to remember too, going into your how he got reelected, there's only there's two things. No president has been pushed out of office when the economy is good, and no president has been pushed out of office during wartime.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something to think about.
So the U.S. Patriot Act stands for Uniting and Strengthening America by Providing Appropriate Tools Required to Intercept and Obstruct Terrorism, right?
Mm.
Which you could argue is why, which gives them clearance, quote unquote, to collect records, to spy on people. Fucking dog.
Collecting
It's a loud ass
information in
bark,
general.
dude.
Collect
That is a
information in
loud bark.
general, right?
Uh-huh.
And I don't think that President Bush had come up with this act. I think it was already in play and it was already being formed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And this 9/11 attack very well was like, okay, this is the perfect fucking time to
Bring out our game plan.
yeah, to bring out our game plan.
Yeah.
You know, which leads into a lot of, I mean, shit that's happening today. You know, companies collecting records. I mean, they're not even government companies either. I don't even.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? But it's just all of it. It just seems that event very well, like, ties into what the world is now in terms of the Patriot Act, in more ways than like you can think. So because like how is the Patriot Act so relevant today? You know, in terms of like all the social media companies and just the way internet is progressing and
Data being collected.
data being collected. How is that so relevant today? With this act that, mind you, was the only reason it was pushed out was to fight terrorism, was
Mhm.
just to and it says right there, it said in the acronym, you know, to investigate acts of terrorism, which is the only thing it should have been, right? But if you look at things now, you know, in terms of like political or elections, right? You know, how much, like you always talk about how much data is being collected without us knowing, how much ads are being funneled
Mm-hmm.
through everything. It seems everything worked perfectly and too perfectly,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
from something that, I don't know. I don't believe, I mean, I believe a little bit, you know, that I don't think people thought that, or I don't think the government thought that when they brought out the Patriot Act, it would turn into what it is today, you know, and how it could be so relevant. But on the other hand, it's like, man, this Epstein shit's real. You know, why can't this shit be real? Right?
Yeah.
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 Why can't like a super hidden agenda have been made when they passed this act?
Mm-hmm.
And it just, there are powerful people out there, there are smart people out there that are unfortunately on the wrong side. But you know, it's just, there's too much evidence. I'll say that.
Yeah.
There's too much evidence to say that nothing fishy is going on.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just me. 9/11. Weird.
What's your
weird.
what's your verdict, Andy? What is your verdict?
I'm not gonna go with with Occam's razor, which is, you know, the simplest answer is often what is it? The
The
simplest,
answer is often the truth or some shit.
Yeah, something like that. So
You're
I'm not
not
gonna go
gonna
with
go
it.
with it?
No, I'm not going.
I mean,
with
yeah. Okay.
that. I think if anyone could do a little research, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyone could do this, and I guarantee you that people who do research are going to think the same thing as me,
Which is?
which is there's something going on, right?
It was an inside job.
There's something.
Is that your
I don't know. I don't know. But there was something going on with this event, and I think we all can clearly say that.
Mm-hmm.
I think
We
we all can
respect
clearly
that.
say that.
Yeah, I don't have. I'm like stuck in the middle. You know, so much stuff. Like I said, eyebrow raising. I think it's one of those things. Like I don't want to believe that something this much of a magnitude happened from an inside job. I'm one of those people, but I'm not closed off to the idea. You know.
Yeah.
I just think powerful people are at play, man. Man, if Jeffrey Epstein could fucking molest children and have sex orgies for 20 goddamn years with the 1,000 most powerful people,
Yeah.
you know, why couldn't this, you know,
Be
what I mean?
orchestrated.
Why couldn't this be orchestrated?
Yeah. Just to be the devil's advocate, I feel like the issue is that this would just take many more people to pull it off. And you'd think more shit would get leaked, you know? The more people in play, the more opportunity for information to get out.
And you have to think there were already terrorist attacks on U.S. soil. Like, why would the CIA be like? Why would, quote unquote, why would they turn a blind eye to all the evidence that they had?
Yeah.
You know, it could have very well. They were like, okay, well, this is gonna happen. Good.
Yeah.
We're not gonna stop it.
Yeah. The other thing that's weird too is like, why would Osama bin Laden just take ownership of it? Like if it wasn't him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing, though. He was a CIA operative. He had ties already with the U.S. government. So he could very well just been playing a part for all we know, right?
Yeah, and his quote unquote and his neighbor, right? Saddam Hussein was a CIA operative as well. Isn't it a coincidence that Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden were both CIA operatives?
Yeah, it's shady stuff, bro. It's very shady.
We invaded Iraq, right? They supposedly had weapons of mass destruction, right? 9/11 happened. Osama bin Laden orchestrated it. CIA operative gave us a reason.
Yeah.
You know,
I think this is what I have to say. If this was an inside job, if this was another one of those weird occurrences, they pulled it off very well. Because I feel like even when you do research, they're still like, oh shit, man, I don't know. I feel like with Epstein, you look into it and it seems sloppy. It seems very obvious, right? Like, oh, come on, like this obviously is not what it appears to be. But I feel like with 9/11, after hearing all the information you just said, I just have more questions. You know, I just have more uncertainty about it. I don't feel more secure one way or the other.
That's how I am.
Yeah, I'm still just like, oh, fuck, dude, I don't know, man. Like, on one hand, it makes sense. On the other, it doesn't.
And that's fine, you know what I mean? But I think it says something when you can't accept either side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? It says something about
I
the
think that's how it
government.
should be.
And, well, yeah. But when you see something...
Yeah, it shows that you can't trust the government.
When you see something to that magnitude, don't get me wrong, it was horrible. It was a horrible, horrible event. You know, thousands of people died. Or... maybe more than 10,000 if you want to count the effects of 9/11. You know, soldiers
the health
and
issues.
all that too, health issues and all the people that got cancer and all the soldiers that died. And and if you want to count, the opposite side that died too, all the soldiers that killed people in the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like,
I think what makes it hard to think about or accept is the idea that the government would be willing to make that type of sacrifice for money or for whatever ulterior motive, right? Because it's easy to think like that was an attack by someone else, and now we need to get payback,
deal with that problem,
right?
Yeah,
it's hard to think that the government's like, you know what, like, we'll lose thousands of people, but look how much money we'll make in profit. Look how this will affect our trade. How this will affect our power and our reach and influence over the world. But I think we forget is that we have a long history of making that sacrifice, right? Mm-hmm. When we know war brings money, we know that, and we know that there's these players in our economy that leverage that for that purpose, and come on, they have to know what that means. They have to know what type of casualties will be caused, you know? And obviously they don't care. obviously for them it's like it's sacrifice in order to get further, in order to make more money, in order to make more influence, power.
At that point, it just becomes a press of a button.
Yeah, they don't care.
There's nothing to a press of a button. There's
Man,
nothing to it.
System of the Down said it. Fuck, what did they say? It was, the presidents never fight the war. They only send the poor.
Yeah.
You know? They know that when we're causing conflict, we're causing whatever we're getting involved in, they know there's going to be casualties. And for them, yeah, they're so detached that they're like, well, it's the cost of for whatever. You know?
And I understand American people being very patriotic, loving their country and willing to die for, to protect us and defend us. But it's like,
for what, like, higher purpose?
Yeah, like, at the end of the day, do you really know what you're fighting for? You know what I mean? Like, these people are just sending you out there, and are saying, okay, these guys are the enemy. Here's a gun. Go and kill them. Right? It's just like, you at that point when you're taking lives, you have to question, especially this far out from 9/11. And we're still there. It's just, you have to question what you're doing at the end of the day. You have to question why you're there and what you're pulling a trigger for, and you have to realize that you're pulling a trigger for I don't want to bring race into it, but a politician who's sitting in an office signing papers and signing acts into play and laws, and the president signing bigger budgets for the military, and you know what I mean? They like, you're just a pawn. Like, you're replaceable, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can die and it's fine. They'll just get another 18-year-old willing to be trigger happy and die for our country again.
Or that wants free college bad enough.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good things that come with military, but the ultimate price to pay is your life. So it's just, I don't know. 9/11.
All right, are we closing this one?
Yeah.
Any last thoughts?
Yeah, no.
I had one thing.
What's up?
But it's a joke. It's a post I saw, and it was
hear
about
it.
Mike Bloomberg.
Oh, let's hear
Mini
it.
Mike?
If you don't know who Mike Bloomberg is, he's the guy that you keep seeing ads everywhere for. And this dude spent $500 million on advertisements.
Drop in the bucket.
And
To win the Samoa Islands.
someone posted, they're like, if Mike Bloomberg wanted to waste $500 million, he could have just bought the Mets.
Fuck,
Dude.
man.
Man, you should just fucking funded that money into some other fucking nominee. Jesus Christ.
Dude, like,
Or like
I don't
fucking
know,
send it
man.
to.
There's suspicions about the whole political
let's
system.
let's just close this chapter.
Yeah.
Okay. So my topic was on aliens. So just to give a idea of what my train of thought was headed when I started researching this, I wanted to start with really looking into the possibility of alien civilizations, right? Like, statistically, how possible would it be, or how plausible would it be that aliens are out there? And then based on that, why have we seen them or not? And then from there, I really wanted to dive into all these different theories of alien encounters and evidence and whatnot. So I didn't get to fully finish that path, so to speak. But I kind of approached it how you did, with questions. So I started with this question: how many potentially habitable planets are there that we've spotted so far? And this is from thoughtcode.com. I did not write the author name. But this is the quote. And it's talking about the Kepler satellite that NASA has launched and oversees. And its main objective is to find exoplanets, or planets, just discover new planets. And it says the numbers are encouraging, but they only reflect a small part of the sky. That is because Kepler did not survey the entire galaxy, but rather only 1/400th of the sky. And I highlight that quote.
That is so crazy.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
So
That's the satellite that's like mapping out the galaxy, right?
That was Hubble, right?
Hubble was mapping out the galaxy, I believe. Kepler, I believe its main purpose is to find pretty much other solar systems, and to identify planets. So it's looking for other planets, with the underlying reasoning to find, potentially habitable planets, or planets that could harbor life.
Can you say that quote one more time?
Yeah. Kepler did not survey the entire galaxy, but rather only 1/400th of the sky. So, I feel like what people don't understand is they literally take a chunk of the sky that we're able to see, and then they narrow in on it. And they're like, what can we see in this little chunk, right? And then it says,
this little chunk has 5 billion stars.
pretty much.
Fuck.
So it says, scientists estimate that the Milky Way could contain upwards of 50 billion planets, 500 million of which could be in their stars' habitable zones. So that is only our galaxy, right? We have a very limited view. We are only looking at our galaxy. 50 billion planets that they're estimating, 500 million of which could be in the habitable zone, which I'll explore more further down. But then it asks, how are these planets discovered? So there are various methods or measurements of ways that they do this, some of which are with light waves, some of them are with radiation bursts. The most successful method, which is being used by Kepler, is called the transit method. And what that means is they are measuring the variance of light from a star as planets or a planet passes in front of it. So what they're looking at how much a star is dimmed while a planet is going in front of it, and from there they're able to measure the size of the planet, the density, and then through other methods they're able to measure how far it is orbiting from the sun. I'll come back to that later. So that's the transit method. That's what Kepler's using. So I kept reading about the Goldilocks zones, the Goldilocks zone, or the habitable zone. The reason why it's called the Goldilocks zone is, if you remember the story, she tries the first porridge and she says, "Oh, this one's too hot." She tries the next porridge. "Oh, this one's too cold." She tries the third porridge and says, "This one's just right." Now, the Goldilocks zone is the same thing as another term called the circumstellar habitable zone. And what that is the range of orbits around a star that liquid water can exist on Earth-like planets. So that's what Kepler's looking for. It's looking for planets that are in an orbit that's just right? It's not too close, it's not too far. This brought up another question for me. Like, why is water considered so important to life? Why are we only looking at that? The reason behind that, simply all life forms that we know of require water. There isn't a single life form on our planet that can survive without water or does not contain water. And that's from multicellular organisms like us down to single cell bacteria, whatever.
Amoebas.
Plankton. So there's an estimate of 50 billion planets, and an estimate that 500 million of those could be in habitable zones. We have found, I couldn't find an exact number, but it's in the thousands, around 3,000 habitable planets that are in that zone that NASA has identified, right? So if there's all these planets that could harbor life, like, where is all the life, right? Where are the aliens? So that could be two answers. Either they are here and the government is hiding them, or we haven't found them yet, or we're alone, right? Those are the two paths, though. It's either they're here and the government's hiding them, or we just haven't found them yet, or they don't exist. So with that being said, I got this from abcnews.com. You could find it if you want. But this quote says, "The National UFO Reporting Center, which tracks calls and messages from people around the U.S. and Canada about strange sightings in the sky, reported that it received 5,971 sightings in 2019. So about 6,000 UFO sightings were reported last year. That's in the U.S. and Canada. We also, I feel like we're coming out of the golden age of alien conspiracies, but I feel like while we were in high school, that was the prime of it. There was countless documentaries or TV shows discussing cave paintings about UFOs, Renaissance paintings about UFOs, crop circles, or ancient civilization records or folk tales like the Aztec, the Mayans,
The
Anunnaki, all these stories about UFOs, aliens, like unexplainable things. So if there's all these, so this is kind of going more towards that they're out there, but the government's hiding them, and for whatever reason they don't want them reported. And when you look back at that history, it actually starts like late in the 1800s. There's reports that Nikola Tesla believed that aliens were trying to contact him, and he thought they were Martians, like those from Mars. Another famous incident that kind of kick-started all of this was the Roswell crash, right? So there was this UFO that apparently crashed in Roswell that was described to be like a flying disc. I looked into that, and this is from... Let me pull up the source.
Roswell, New Mexico.
Roswell.
I want to go there.
That'd be fun to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I bet there ain't shit there.
Well, I think they have like a good
An
very
alien
souvenir,
convention?
souvenir site and dedicated to
Go in there for the
crash.
souvenirs.
I didn't save the article, but pretty much what it explained was this happened in 1947, and the disc crash happened, and later it was reported or explained to be a weather balloon, part of Project Mogul. So the Air Force was made aware of this report of the disc crash, but they kind of went with it, saying that it was some weird alien technology that they didn't know. And the reason they went with it is because they didn't want to expose Project Mogul, which was a top secret project by the U.S. Air Force involving microphones flown on high altitude balloons, which primary purpose was long distance detection of sound waves generated by Soviet atomic bomb tests. So they were testing these balloons, or they were trying to figure out ways to know what the Soviets were up to. And this was post World War II, after the whole race for atomic weapons.
So weird.
That's what the government says now, what Roswell was just remnants of Project Mogul, that one of their balloons crashed.
Just how they say like Area 51 is like a secret
I
test
hear-
site for...
I like knowing
Which
what,
I will get into that as
knowing
well.
what we know now. Like, I mean, not that I could say that I would have come up with a better idea, but like hearing some of the shit we used to do, like let's just put microphones on a big ass weather balloon and see if we can detect the Soviets. Like, what the fuck are you thinking, dude?
Very,
Like, come on.
yeah, sounds very barbaric. And then I got this. So I started at this point. I'm starting to go into like, what do we know so far about the government involvement with aliens? And I got this from a New York Times magazine called "Reasons to Believe: How seriously should you take those recent reports of UFOs?" And it was written by a whole bunch of authors: David Wallace Wells, James D. Walsh, Neil Patel, Clint Rainey, Katie Heaney, Eric Benson, and Tim Urban were all involved with this article, again by the New York Times, NewYorkMag.com. So I think it's the New York Times. But one of the reports is talking about how some classified documents were made unclassified, where they were able to get this information, that in 1952, there was a CIA group called the Psychological Strategy Board, and they concluded that when it came to UFOs, the American public was dangerously gullible and prone to hysterical mass behavior. The group recommended debunking campaigns to tamper the public's interest in unexplained phenomena. So pretty much the public can't be trusted is what this like think tank came up with. And it said in December, the Pentagon confirmed the existence, so this past December, of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. So pretty much this program to identify anything that could fly, including UFOs. So it was created in 2007 by Senators Ted Stevens, who had reported in the past being chased by a mysterious flying object, Daniel Inouye, I don't know how to say his name, and the then Majority Leader Harry Reid. and it was funded with $22 million of black money from the Department of Defense's budget. The program investigated and evaluated reports of UFO sightings, many of which came from American service members. So this was a program. So if any of you have ever seen any UFO documentaries, it always talks about military personnel also reporting them, including those in the Air Force. So that was the purpose of this program, to look into that and to find if there was any validity to it. The article further explains, based on data it collected, the program identified 5 observations that showed mysterious objects displaying some level of advanced physics, or stuff humans can't do. The objects would accelerate with g-forces too strong for the human body to withstand, or reach hypersonic speed with no heat trail or sonic boom, or they seem to resist the effects of Earth's gravity without any aerodynamic structures to provide thrust or lift. I now that I think about it, I didn't look into how many reports were made to this department, but I think the key thing to point out is that only 5 of them were truly unexplained. The rest had some type of explanation as to what people were saying.
I remember that military video that came out. It's just like this little ball of light, like, almost looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But it's caught on a military camera, and I think it's on
I just watched
a
it.
jet.
Mm.
Oh, you just watched it? But the way that it's moving is like almost impossible
Yeah.
For
any of our aircraft.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I feel like I don't know, if I see a military video on it, I'm gonna believe that, you know,
Like the video
over anything.
Mm.
Over anything that I see. I'm like,
Like
okay,
any other
this is
video
coming
taken.
from. Well, and then on the other hand, I'm like, well, okay, this might be coming from the government, and they could just, I mean, I don't know, things could be doctored.
Right.
Photoshop is real, but you know, it looks real. That's all I'm gonna say. It looks real.
Yeah. Yeah, when it comes from those sources.
I stopped caring about aliens a couple years ago, but when I hear that U.S. Air Force pilots are even like, we have no idea what the hell that is. Once again, eyebrow raising.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, what's going on here?
I definitely agree. So the next thing I want to go into a little bit is just Area 51. But before I get into that, like, what are you guys' thoughts
On Area 51?
on aliens?
Oh,
just in
aliens.
general.
Do you want to go first?
I am very hopeful that we are not alone in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
But then that raises the question, like, if we aren't alone, then what is taking so long? You know? But that's my opinion. I hope we're not alone.
I feel the same way. I'm very intoxicated on the idea that there's other life out there smarter than us.
Mm-hmm.
On the premise that they would be able to teach us
Like better
technology, better things, better ways of travel,
Mhm.
so we could finally get the fuck up out of here. And
Dude, I don't even care if, like, they're smarter than us. I just hope there's life.
Just something.
Yeah.
yeah,
Because
I mean, yeah, if there was like
even
dinosaurs
though,
on another
yeah,
planet, that'd be cool.
Because
But
even though, like, we'll never see it, one day that's going to be intelligent life. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
if evolution, you know, is
continues.
yeah.
But I feel like
For them.
it's always been and that just might be what's out there, but it's always the reason I think that they're more intelligent than us is just what movies have been.
Yeah.
Just I guess just the classic Alien, right?
Yeah.
What-
But
I-
I mean, if aliens are real and these videos that we're seeing is true,
but
obviously that means they're more intelligent than us.
Yeah, but I mean they're already
Right.
quote unquote
That's true.
aliens.
I think the assumption is that if they're able to get to us, they must be more intelligent
Yeah.
than us
Yeah.
because we cannot get to them yet.
Yeah. All I'm saying is if we find life, you know, like we go
Yeah.
to one of those habitable planets and in the water, you know,
Mm.
like a fucking fish.
fish or some bacteria, like that's life, you know,
Yeah.
like that counts.
I feel like when we were in high school, it was much more believable that aliens were out there and the government was just hiding them from us.
Mhm.
Do you all still believe that?
I think they're. I don't know if it's aliens, but I think they're hiding something. And
I think it's information, but
Yeah.
I don't think they're hiding aliens.
But
you don't think
I feel like in this age now where everyone has a cell phone, you
Mhm,
know,
mhm.
and is capable of recording something fishy going on.
with good video quality?
Yeah, great video quality. Like if you think about it, how many like spottings now with great video quality has really
Right.
come out? Did you look up to like the most sightings per area?
It's California. It was like areas that are mostly populated.
Mhm. I heard New Jersey gets the most.
Really, I know
Yeah,
it was
I
like
heard
somewhere
that
on the
too.
East Coast, somewhere on the West Coast, and then
Mhm.
I don't know if it was like Texas or something.
Yeah, but I don't know, because Stephen Hawking said that when if they would come, if aliens came here, it would be the same thing as like the Spaniards coming to
Yeah,
the Americas.
Mhm.
I don't know if I believe that.
I think he's full of shit when he said that.
It's just like yeah. At the time, Stephen Hawking was the smartest man on Earth.
Yeah,
If the smartest man on Earth is saying that, who am I to? But at the same time, he doesn't know. Right?
yeah,
correct?
but to say how these aliens are gonna act when they come here, it's like,
Yeah,
you're
and I
full of
think
mean,
we-
it's just
shit,
a
dude.
theory.
Yeah, and
right?
I think
we- I
Like,
think
you
we-
don't know for certain.
Well, I think across the board here, we believe that when you get to a certain amount of intelligence, like you don't really want to be barbaric.
Mm-hmm.
right. You'd think
know?
that an increase of logical intelligence would also mean an increase of like emotional
Yeah, like
intelligence,
empathy
right?
and-
You'd be more empathetic.
But it's like if you're smart enough,
to travel across the universe.
and then you come here and then you see if if an alien traveled across the Milky Way to get to us, correct? I would feel like they would come here and be like, okay, well, there's nothing really here that we can use. You know what
right.
I mean?
Yeah,
right. They would
but
have
I-
their own needs. You
Yeah,
think
it's
would be
just like-
settled.
I would feel like they'd also come here, look down, and be like, okay, they're not where we're at, but they're also not dumb either.
Yeah.
Like they look like they're getting there.
building something.
They're figuring shit out.
Because I'd feel like it's with Stephen Hawking, he said it would very much be the opposite. It would very much be that if aliens came here, we would actually be the ones to be like, okay, what the fuck is that? Let's aim all our weapons towards it,
Yeah.
just in case.
yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't. I don't think an alien would be like, okay, well, let's come here and then.
just wipe them out.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem believable. To me.
I'm one of those people that looks at like the old paintings and carvings. I feel like aliens were here a
They were.
long time ago, and those civilizations worship them as gods.
Mm.
Like
Do
what
you
is that?
think
On
they-
Ancient Aliens.
Yeah.
they
Yeah. When
talk about
I
the
heard
Anunnaki.
that idea, I'm like, I could run with that more than
That they're here now.
yeah.
But they talk about the Anunnaki who made contact with the Sumerians. But the Sumerians were the first recorded.
Like
Civilization, right?
Yeah.
So
The
they
Middle East.
they claim that the Sumerians had contact with them and that they, I think that ancient aliens is like very broad and,
Overblown.
Yeah.
But apparently the aliens came here because they wanted to mine like gold or
Yeah.
just some weird shit.
Yeah.
But still, there's records.
Or there's like theories that aliens came and injected their DNA into our DNA and like kind of created
Like,
us.
man, should have injected more. Right? Make us a little smarter, dude. Come on.
Straight up, man. All right, so next let's get into Area 51 because I feel like shit.
Oop.
I
My
feel like you're good, man. I feel like that's a staple to alien theories, right?
Yeah.
It's Area 51.
Let me say one thing about Area 51.
Let's hear it.
Uh-oh.
hold on,
I
let
did
me-
not
let me
say
put it-
Siri. Sorry.
Well, that's close. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. It's been a big speculation, right, for harboring aliens, but I don't think that they are. I think that maybe, I don't know if you guys remember that Bob Lazar documentary.
Yeah, dude.
I think that was a big thing.
That opened my eyes too when he went on
That
Joe
came
Rogan's
out.
podcast.
Yeah, when he was
Still
talking
haven't seen
about
that.
he was able to. You should watch it. Like you watch it and you see that this guy has really no reason to lie about anything and the weird shit that he went through.
Mhm.
Like saying
It was like experimenting with like alien technology, right?
yeah, he called it like an I think it was called like an antimatter, like
What?
the thrusters were like antimatter and they were able to, that's why they were
What-
able to like,
Yeah, it was supposed to generate the power,
yeah.
and that's all he worked on was that. Right? It was one of those things that, like you only got a little bit of information.
But
Yeah.
but because they had found something that way, like that.
Right.
Yeah. So they
Yeah.
were,
Some type
I
of
think they were trying to mimic
So
it.
they're trying to figure out how it worked.
Uh-huh.
You know, and he believed that he got replaced because the last guy that was in his position tried like cutting it open with a plasma cutter,
Mhm.
and he's like, that is not how we like. That's not how science
works.
does things. You know, you don't just
Yeah.
cut things open and see
destroy
what's-
your sample.
Yeah. But if that guy's interesting because for like the last 32 years, his story has been the same.
Yeah.
And it's like over years, consistency with stories end up changing. But his is consistent. Even if you look at the news broadcast that he came out with, talking about all this stuff.
But he's been talking about it forever, but it hasn't really been I guess media friendly. But I think I would consider that a staple in the past 10 years of in terms of validity of evidence, and I would consider that a staple.
I'll definitely touch on that. This is the most concise article I could find on Area 51, and it's on businessinsider.com by Corey Proten and Matthew Stewart. And it explains how in the early 1950s, U.S. planes were conducting low-flying recon missions over the USSR, but they were constant worries of them being spotted and shot down. So in 1954, President Eisenhower authorized the development of a top-secret high-altitude recon aircraft dubbed Project Aquatone. The program required a remote location that wasn't easily accessible to civilians or spies. Hence, Area 51 fit the bill perfectly. And then in that summer of 1955, so the next year, sightings of unidentified flying objects were reported around Area 51. That's because the Air Force had begun its testing of the U-2 aircraft. The U-2 can fly higher than 60,000 feet, and at that time, normal airliners were flying in around 10,000 to 20,000 feet. So it was flying much higher than any commercial airline. So said, while Air Force officials knew the UFO sightings were U-2 tests, they couldn't really tell the public, so they explained the aircraft sightings by saying they were natural phenomena and high-altitude weather research. And then it explained the testing of the U-2 ended in the late 1950s, but Area 51 has continued to serve as the testing ground for many aircraft, including the F-117A, the A-12, and the Tackett Blue. So that's the government's explanation for Area 51. Is for just
as soon as I heard that, I'm like, that is fucking bullshit.
You think so?
That is misdirection at its finest. When at the peak of when they came out with it, that's when the most questions about Area 51 were most relevant. Is when like everyone was like, what is Area 51? And then you like start seeing videos and stories of people trying to go over there and see like what it is, and you can see like pictures or videos of the signs that they have up that there's like lethal force in that area.
I think what people forget is that for the longest time it was denied to even exist. Area 51, even though the public knew about this for a long time, even by the name Area 51. But this article even explains it. The government never even acknowledged existence until 2013 with the release of some classified CIA reports.
As soon as I heard that, bro, I'm like, bullshit.
Yeah, the fact that you deny the existence, but also like if you people are gonna ask questions when things are top secret. You know what I mean? I'm like, why is this top secret? Why are you denying the existence of this when we can clearly
Yeah, just because they give you an explanation doesn't make it the truth.
Right.
Like, remember when we were all in the car together? I think it was, what was it, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago? And there's a rocket. They say it was a rocket, and there's rings coming off of it.
Oh, yeah.
And they said, oh, yeah, it's a missile we're testing. Like, you're full of shit, bro.
You didn't believe it?
I don't believe that shit for a goddamn second.
I feel like I do, because there had been other times where SpaceX was testing stuff, right? And it had you could see the same effect. And the reason why I believe it is because Adrian, didn't he tell you beforehand, like, hey, they're testing a rocket this day, make sure to look in this direction. And we saw it,
That's the thing. When you were talking about the UFO sightings, I want to know, like,
did it have rings like that, though?
How many people?
I don't know. I didn't look into, like, specific
It's definitely
UFO
weird.
sightings
It's
from
definitely
recent
weird. You know what I
times.
mean?
You just tell me a rocket that moves as slow as that one did and fucking shoot off rings like that.
But
I don't believe it.
I want to know
when they have
UFC
rockets that travel like a mile a second or some shit like that. Like, I don't believe it.
ICBMs. But I want to know that I want to see what the sightings are of because you know how you said you named the amount of sightings. in the
Yeah,
US?
like
I wanna
what
know-
they were.
I want to know how many of those were like rockets and just because when you see like when you see a rocket like that, you're like, what the fuck is that? I've never seen that in my life.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
You think the worst, but you know.
I think I'm gonna play devil's advocate, and I'm gonna go on the other side now, of it just being speculation, right?
Okay. I don't want to rush anything,
Mm-hmm.
but we really only have like 14 minutes left.
14. Okay, I think I could wrap it up.
Okay.
14.
Cool.
So this is the thing.
Damn, where we going now?
When I haven't. What's the guy's name again? Bob.
Lazar.
Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar. I was looking for the document. What's the name of the documentary?
I forgot. I think it's called.
There's so many on Netflix. I couldn't.
There's one
I
main
can't
one. and
remember
I think
the
it
name
came
of the guy
out
either.
2 years ago, but it just started gaining traction.
Okay.
Like
But
last
Bob
year.
Lazar, that's the name I need.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'll look, I like I said, I want to look into this more. I would love to do more research and do this topic again. Based on the information I have now, if I'm playing on the other side, is that the only evidence we have is from people, is reports, right, of what they've seen, or footage, or what they write down, and that can't be trusted, right? We need hard evidence. We need physical evidence, which we just don't have. The other thing too, when looking at how we find these planets, going back to what I started with, the transit method, one of its flaws is that it's only limited to planets that orbit between us and its star, right? So while on one hand that will argue that there must be many more planets that we just don't see because of the way the planets orbit, the other hand shows that we're still very inexperienced at finding other planets, right?
Definitely. If we can, if we can only like take chunks of the sky. Well, I mean that's obviously because so much.
Yeah, there's so much to
There's so
look
much
at.
in chunks of the sky, but it's just like
The other thing too is that this idea that we're basing our search off of water, right? That's what we're basing our search for habitable planets. And although it makes sense, of course, we're going to base it. That's the foundation of all life on Earth. But how do we know that's the foundation of all life at all,
yeah.
right? We might be searching for the wrong thing. Maybe we're the anomaly of being a life form that's based off of the elements that we're based off of. And maybe there's some other type of life forms that are spread across the galaxy.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is that I feel like the general public doesn't know how little we actually know and how inexperienced we are and how we're still trying to figure all this out. The other thing too is that people don't realize that it's theorized that the first life form on Earth happened 3.5 billion years ago. And it took 3.5 billion years of evolution to lead to us, right? Which we could argue is the first actual intelligent life form that's able to leave the planet, for all we know.
For all we know.
For all we know. That's able to change our environment the way that we have. So with that being said, what is the likelihood that another planet could have life naturally occur and that life preserved for 3.5 billion years, or for billions of years is my point, and have it evolve and, like for all we know, we could be an anomaly in the fact that we are able to have life on this planet for billions of years. The universe is a very volatile place. It's a very harsh place. So what I'm disappointed with this research that I've done is that I'm still left with more uncertainty. I just don't know. There's still theories that are suspecting that there's life on Mars. We're finding more and more evidence of water still present. And I came across an article that I didn't go down too deeply, but it was explaining how new scientists are theorizing that there's life underneath the soil on Mars. Like, it's not visible to the naked eye. That's another big issue. We're able to map all these planets, but it's very computational with how we're doing it, right? It's not that we have this telescope that we're able to look. We can't look and see what the atmosphere is. We can't look and see
on the surface. And,
right.
Yeah.
So on one hand, all those planets could have life, and we just don't have the tools yet to verify it.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, life is just much more rare than we'd like to believe, and we're the anomaly, and we're the only life forms there, and we might be alone in this universe. That's very possible as well. Now going more to the conspiracy, like I'm with you, Phil. I don't think that the government's hiding aliens just because there's too many people on this planet looking for them.
Yeah.
We would have much more evidence. It would just be way too hard at this point to hide it. Because literally, most scientists that are looking up at the stars, they're looking for it. They're looking for life.
And there's cameras everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say, like you could very much say that there are aliens on other planets. Like you call microorganisms aliens if you want, and they may very well be in the beginning stages of life, just like how we were. We just it just happened for us 3.2 billion years ago, but now it's happening for them now. But yeah, I also believe the same thing. We don't know a whole lot. It's funny because I think the quantity of information that we have isn't so much quality. We have a lot of the same things going on and people videotaping the same things, and I think that sways a lot of people that there might be like aliens. You know what I mean? There's just a lot of videotapings of a ball of light in the sky, a lot of videotapings of just blurry flying disc photos, but that's not quality evidence. You know what I mean? And if you gather all the evidence up and you put it in a pile, you still can't gather anything from that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it sucks, but it's just what it is right now. And I also believe that. I don't believe that I guess we're hiding like an intelligent, super intelligent form of life, or a not so intelligent form of life. But I think we are hiding something. Something not of this world that I feel like if it was brought to light, it would raise a lot of eyebrows and questions.
So like not so much aliens, but
something. Whether it be like interdimensional or whether it be,
it's another thing
too. I don't know.
It might just be something we just can't understand.
Yeah,
yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
one last point I wanted to make, and it was just broad about conspiracy theories in general. I feel like most people of our generation are very quick to scoff at religion, right? And I think studies have shown that most of our population is now non-religious than any one religion. And a lot of the reasoning behind why it's so skeptical is because, you need evidence, right? And just being told to believe isn't enough. And we're aware of like fallacies in argument, because some religious people will say like, oh, what about this? You can't explain that. So that must be God, right? And I feel like people can understand why that's a bad argument to make, because you shouldn't just chalk up anything you can't explain to God, right? But I think where people make the mistake is they do that with other things that's not God. So a lot of people will say, oh, well, what about this? You can't explain that, so it must be aliens, or it must be the government, or it must be whatever, interdimensional, time-traveling, paraphilic vampires. Yeah. And that's the thing. And I feel like we all have to be a little careful not falling into that trap of thought with conspiracy theories too.
Just because it's so easy.
It's so easy. And the thing too, though, is it's not a conclusion. It's not a way to make a discovery of like, you can't explain this, so that it must be the CIA. You know what I mean? Like, so
spying on us.
I want to invite everyone, please stay skeptical. Don't believe everything you see. Don't believe everything you hear. But don't let the lack of information be an explanation for something else, because that's just not how facts are made. That's just not how science works.
Do your research.
You have to do research.
Formulate your own opinion. Don't let...
And be okay with not knowing.
Yeah.
Be okay with like, you know what? I have no idea what that is. We don't have the tools to explain it. So I just don't know. Yeah. You don't have to have a reason. You don't have to say it's aliens because I don't know.
Yeah.
Or it's God because I don't know. Like, Just say I don't know.
And talking about like religion and talking about conspiracy theories, it's almost like hard to distinguish the two, you know, because like
They go hand in hand.
religion could very well be however long a religion has been here. Let's just say thousands of years. It could be a thousands of years conspiracy theory, just like aliens might be in
Yeah.
1,000 years.
One of the
Yep.
best conspiracy theories
know?
out there.
Yep.
Like how
Who
long? How
knows?
long of a conspiracy theory has aliens been already?
Yeah.
right?
One thing I want to say is, you know, even though we brought these things to light, you know, like it's just stuff we brought up. You know, is it true? Is it not?
Yeah.
Like
That's
we
what makes
just
them
said,
fun.
formulate your own opinion. You
Yeah.
know, do your own research. You know,
I think that's what makes conspiracy theories so tantalizing or so attractive, is because you're not gonna find a definitive answer.
Yeah.
You can't say with certainty this is what it is. There's always gonna be I can't explain it. You
Yep.
know,
I agree.
But I think we could say for certain,
Bush did 9/11.
not only that, but Epstein didn't fucking kill himself.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
that fool
I'm
got strangled.
pretty damn. A lot of evidence for that. Yeah.
No, but yeah. Just question everything. You know, don't
Question
be
everything.
ignorant. Be an intellectual and try and understand the truth. And if there's no truth,
The
Something
beautiful
you can
part
do.
about, you know, doing your own research and coming to understand something is that along the way, even though you find out or form your opinion on something over here, along that journey of, you know, researching and doing all this, you might learn something about yourself or about something that you weren't even expecting to learn. You know, that's the beautiful part about actually doing things yourself and
Yeah.
trying to find something.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Oh.
this was fun.
Man,
I think. Are you
okay.
next? You have next episode, right?
Am I?
Are you after me?
Yep.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I am. Oh shit. Yeah, I guess.
I don't know. Does anyone have any last thoughts before we close this off?
Yeah. Well, I'm supposed to go last, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go last.
Okay. All right. Closing remarks. Okay. Thank you again. It was a fun episode. I really hope we could do this theme again with more time to research. Once again, follow us on Instagram, Circle Podcast _. Come interact with us. Thank you for joining us. Once in, always in. Thank you for joining Circle.
We're scraping like the last seconds on my memory card for the camera. So, yeah, don't let the white man get you down. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you. I want to say one thing. When you formulate your own opinion, obviously you're going to come across people that have different opinions. Don't fucking argue about it. Don't be self-destructive. We can come to a consensus. You don't have to be, you don't have to be sending missiles at them all the time.
Yeah.
You know, we're people and let's love each other.
Yeah, remember that person's a human being too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.